Hello. So I thought I would just give everybody a little update because I actually have something significant to update everyone with. Um, so last night, it was warm here in Georgia. So like it was evening time. So the kids and I were playing out back and it started getting kind of cooler. So I was like, okay, it's time to go in. So I was distracted. I was putting the boys' toys away, and Lara just like swooped into the house, which wouldn't be a big deal normally, except that she shut the door behind her and locked the deadbolt lock. She locked us out of the house. All the other doors and windows were locked. And it was okay, for like 30 minutes, I was trying to like get her to open the door, like trying so hard. It's getting like colder and colder, and like the boys are getting cold. They're like super frustrated. But me, I'm like, I was laughing my butt off because I thought, no big deal. Like, I'll definitely be able to get her to open the door. But then 30 minutes passes and it's still not open, and the boys are like really cold. I'm really cold. So I call the rental place and I'm like, hey, we need emergency assistance. Like the emergency line is what I called. They're like, okay, all right, we'll call the emergency maintenance guys and see if we can get someone out there. So we wait another 30 minutes. And it's just getting colder by the second. Oh my God, it was so cold. And so I had the car unlocked, so I had the kids in there, the boys. I was like, okay, stay warm, stay in there. And we're just waiting. I went around to the front of the house and I'm like, please, like, can you unlock the window? Like, I didn't think it would be so hard to get her to open it. But anyway, so another 30 minutes goes by and I'm like, okay, I'm calling the rental place back to see if we can get some help. So I call and they're like, well, we couldn't get a hold of anybody. So I'll try getting a hold of somebody again. Like, at this point, it's been over an hour, and then the boys jump out of the car and they lock the door behind them. So I no longer have a warm place to put them. So it's getting colder and colder. And like, I told my mom this story earlier, and I said, in like an intense movie, and then like the music just makes it that much more intense, I had like 5% phone battery left. So that was my intense music in the background, because I'm like, I need to make a decision quick because it's been over an hour. My 2-year-old is stuck in the house and myself and the boys are out in the cold, and it was freezing. So I'm like, okay, I've got to call the police. I have to have more help. I have to get in here. I don't even know if they're going to be able to get a hold of someone. So I call the police. And it's been at least an hour and a half that we've been out in the cold at this point. So we, I was like at the window, like begging her to like, please open the door. And I'm like, yeah, like it looks like this, you gotta turn it this way. Like I tried everything. Anyway, the police come out, and there's like 3 or 4 policemen, and they called the fire department. So then a big fire truck pulls up, and then there's a bunch of firemen, and then there's a bunch of like other guys that I don't know who they are. And so there were like maybe 15 people at most, trying to help me get in the house. So they're like calling our rental agency, and they're like, we got to get in. Like, we got to get in. And they're like, you can't break the doors. You can't break the windows. And they're like, we have to break a window. So they broke this, like, we had this long window right beside our door. They broke it and we were able to get in. But I swear, like, we've been living here just over a week. And, like, my plan has just been, let's just fly under the radar. Like, I don't want to, like, and we just get here and it's, like, already, like, I was so embarrassed. It was so funny, too. Like, now that I look back on it, in the moment, like, the first 15 minutes, I thought it was hilarious because I thought, no big deal. She'll get it open, or I'll get a window or a door open. No big deal. No, it didn't happen. At one point, I was like, listen, you open this window now. And, like, the boys, it was so sad. The boys were, like, crying, and they're like, can we kill Lara when we get in the house? And I'm like, no, she's a baby. Like, what are you thinking? Like, she doesn't understand what she's doing. And that was a hard thing to explain to them because they were just, like, thinking, like, she just did this to them. And I'm like, she's not trying to be mean. She doesn't understand. She's a baby. She's only 2. But, oh, my God. Oh, like, the sheer embarrassment. Like, the whole neighborhood saw because there were a ton of people. And, oh, it was just terrible. It was terrible. And, like, looking back on it now, I think it's funny. But in the moment, So I have, like, new stuff to, like, rub in her face when she's older. Like, remember when you locked your brothers and I out of the house? It was like, God, it had to have been at least 2 hours that we were locked out of that house total by the time they got, like, the door or the window broken. Ugh. It was awful. It was awful. And, like, towards the end, like, before they broke the window, they were over there and they were, like, at the window and they're like, honey, can you just, like, you know, reach for the window lock or, like, get the door lock? And she's just saying, no. Like, and then when we were all finally in our house and, like, they had to take a statement from me, the officer sat in Lara's chair at the table. So she starts going on this long rant about how he's in her chair and that is not his chair and that's her chair and he shouldn't be there because that's her chair. And, like, I'm her mom, so I understand her talk. But they didn't, like, really understand. They heard her saying, like, chair and mine and, like, stuff like that. So the female officer that was there, she's like, oh, she's just talking up a storm. Like, oh, what is she saying? And I'm like, she's mad because he's sitting in her chair. No thank you to the officers. No, nothing. And they were so sweet. They were so understanding. But my God, it was like not my finer point as a mother, like not my finest moment. But yeah, I've never been locked out of the house before by the kids and not been able to get back in. 'Cause I've been locked out before. Oof. I, like, wanted to crawl under a rock. I'm just embarrassed about it, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? That's a family memory for the books. But yeah, so that's my not quite so little update. It was actually kind of long, but yeah. So enjoy that little nugget of a story I had for you guys.